Hey, it's Mark Letteiri here. I'm in Hollywood, California with my good friends at Guitar Center, and we've got the MXR Joshua Ambient Echo pedal today. I'm a guitar player, composer, songwriter, member of bands like Snarky Puppy and the Fearless Flyers. I also release music under my own name and tour with the Mark Letteiri group. I do a lot of instructional videos, I do a lot of gear demos, I'm very involved in designing some products. The Joshua Ambient Echo is a really cool pedal. I actually had one of the early prototypes that George Trips at MXR had made, so I've spent quite a bit of time with it. Actually took it on a tour or two. It's inspired by some of the classic 80s rack unit delays that you might have heard players like Eddie Van Halen use, or the Edge from U2. Does the great stereo delay thing incredibly well. There's all sorts of cool little features with modulation and octave, which we'll demonstrate too, but I've been having a lot of fun creating some cool soundscapes and tones with it. So we're gonna dig into a lot of these sounds. I'm playing my PRS Fiore guitar into a Fender Princeton Reverb amp and a PRS HDRX 20 head and cap. We're going to start with an approximation of the classic Edge sound that you probably heard on all that great U2 stuff from the 80s. What I've got going on here, I've got a dotted eighth note set, and I've got the Echo 2 button pressed down, and what the Echo 2 is doing is it's adding a quarter note. I also have a little bit of modulation and a little bit of that upper octave spice. So I might want to play something like this. This pedal does a great job of reminding me of a lot of those 80s delays. I'm going to start tweaking some of these knobs, specifically this voice knob. I find it to be pretty inspiring. You get this nice upper octave and a little bit of a lower octave thing happening. So check this out. I'll start it about like that. And I'm going to kind of bring it in. So. Great for nice big chords. Almost has like a slight organ effect to it. Check out how much modulation you can get out of this stuff too. So you can get a lot of cool sustain effects with that. I have a sound that I really like out of this thing, making use of the modulation. Check this out. I've selected a triplet. It's an eighth note triplet there. I've got a fair amount of modulation in, no trails, no Echo 2, and a very short delay time, and the mix is about at noon, and what you get is this chorused slapback stuff, which is cool for like funky rhythm guitar. So now what I've got dialed up is a really cool wide ambient delay. I think this really stresses what this pedal is great at. So we've got a fair amount of modulation, a little bit of upper octave happening. I've got quite a few subdivisions happening. I've got the Echo 2 button pressed, so we've got a quarter note happening, and we've got an eighth note and a dotted eighth note. And I've got pretty slow tap going, so we've got this sort of sound. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to tweak the ambient sound that I've got using the Regen knob, which is basically your feedback, so how many repeats you're going to get out of this thing. So check this out. Here's where it is now at noon. So a fair amount of repeats, but let's go up to like 3 o'clock. Check this out. Another cool feature that this pedal has is like a freeze function. All you got to do is plug in a tap switch into the CTR input here. I'm using the MXR tap switch, but you can use any type of tap switch. Just make sure you got a mono cable into the CTR. What's going to happen is when I hold down the tap switch, the repeats are just going to go on indefinitely until I lift my foot up. And so you can create these soundscapes, you can solo over it, whatever you like. So here, check this out. This is a great pedal if you're an expert at delay or even if you're a total novice because it does so many different things. It's really easy to get a good sound out of it, and it's really easy to dial in some pretty extravagant sounds. It's got loads of features. I particularly love the modulation feature as well as this Echo 2 button that's going to add that second echo of the subdivision of your choice. I like using it for the stereo delays for big pads or big solos. And I love shortening the delay and adding that modulation to get that kind of funky slapback stuff that I was doing. So you'll definitely find a usable sound in there for you and the kind of music that you like to make. If you want to get your hands on the MXR Joshua Ambient Echo, you could go to guitarcenter.com, or you can contact one of their expert gear advisors, or you can head on down to your local GC and pick one up in the store for yourself.